Star Wars Hunters will very likely be launching with 14 hunters in total according to the Char behind the scenes video from late last year, and they are currently at 12 hunters in the game, plus Aaron Tau, which is the Mandalorian, and Chaos the KX droid, who are both yet to come. But then we also know about Tuya, who is a blue Twi'lek, and she'll likely be the first post-launch hunter to release. But naturally there are hundreds of species and droids within Star Wars, so in today's video I'll be going over the 10 most likely hunters that I think we could see come to the game. Now before I get into that, make sure you are subscribed to the channel with the notification bell turned on if you haven't done so already. Star Wars Hunters is going to be a huge focus on the channel this year, and with launch hopefully coming fairly soon and another update probably next month, there's going to be a ton of content to look out for, so make sure you keep your eyes peeled. Now I have made videos like this in the past, but in all fairness they were a long time ago, so I kind of want this to be a bit of a reboot for a series, where I'll just keep doing videos like this where I go over the different types of hunters that I'd like to see, and I'm also going to be doing the same for maps, and the first video for that will be within the next couple of weeks. And finally, it's worth adding that these hunters are in no particular order, it is just the order in which I came up with. So number 1 on the list is an Ewok hunter, very much inspired by what we have in Star Wars Battlefront 2, where it could be a spear or bow and arrow wielding fuzzball with a senses ability and Wisty pouches, which I think would be a really fun damage hunter to have. And like Battlefront 2, it really plays into what an Ewok can really do. Now with that said, you could also just have some kind of Ewok healer that comes from some ancient Ewok tribe or something like that. I feel like there's a really interesting story they could do with that. But regardless, I just think an Ewok in this game is an absolute must. Next on the list is a Zabrak. Now this doesn't necessarily have to be a Night Brother, but I think a Night Brother in particular would be really cool, as there's a lot of lore and story to tell with that. It could potentially be a Night Brother from the village that Darth Maul and Savage Opress came from, though I'm not sure what an arena in universe would know about that, unless it's essentially a story from this tribe that the Zabrak comes from. I think a normal Zabrak would obviously be more than fine and absolutely a must in this game, but Night Brother would have an amazing story and a really great connection to the rest of the universe here, so I definitely think that's the way they should play it. Next on the list is absolutely a top one for me, and this is a Clone Trooper veteran. Now obviously clones at this point would be really old, but we know Rex was still kicking about at the Battle of Endor, and I really wouldn't be surprised if we saw him in Ahsoka Season 2, which is obviously many years later. So the fact that Rex is still there, I don't think it's out of the realms of possibility that we could have even more really old clones out there somewhere. And the cosmetic potential in particular is just absolutely ridiculous with this thing. Even just with standard Phase 1 and Phase 2 armor, you've got all of the different legions that you could have, but then there's also just tons of different types of clone armor that they could use, so I would absolutely love to see that. Now number 4 on the list is a B1 battle droid, and you can't have a clone without a B1 in my opinion, given they are the direct opposites. In this case obviously battle droids had been reprogrammed plenty of times, we saw that in The Mandalorian Season 3, which was awesome. So I think in this case for Star Wars Hunters it could be a case that Sprocket reprograms this B1 for the arena, just like he programs J3DI. And I think with the voice lines in particular, given how B1s were so silly, I think it would be a lot of fun to see this, and I just genuinely really want to see one of these in the game, and there's obviously quite a few options for different skins. Number 5, so halfway there now, is the Tusken Raider. Now we do already have the Jaws with Utuni, so I think it would be great to see a Tusken as well, given that they are kind of rivals in that sense, or at least it feels like they're rivals from the original Battlefront 2 hunt mode. Now we don't really see Tusken Raiders outside of Tatooine at all, in all fairness, so it may be a little bit weird for this one, but regardless of that I do think it would still be amazing to see this, and they could be absolutely brutal with the gaffy stick, or they could just use the cycle rifle as well. But I think gaffy stick as the main weapon would be awesome, and then have an ability where they can use the cycle rifle for example. That to me I think would just be really fun to see, and Tusken Raiders are iconic in Star Wars, and that's obviously something they really go for when choosing hunters. Getting into the second half of the list then, number 6 is a Quarren. Now we do already have the Mon Calamari species in Sprocket, so having a Quarren would be fun too, given that there was the war between the two races in the Clone Wars. Obviously everything at that point did get resolved, but I don't know in all fairness what happened during the nearly 30 years that preceded that to this point with Star Wars Hunters, but I think it would be interesting to sort of have a bit of a play on that, and Quarrens are just a really cool species. Number 7 is a Mirialan. Now Mirialians are just iconic species in Star Wars. We've seen them quite a number of times with different Jedi, with the likes of Luminara Unduli and her Padawan Barriss Offee, and even more recently with the High Republic we have Vernestra Rowe, and in fact now that I think of it, the Jedi you play as in the High Republic sections of Tales from the Galaxy's Edge is also a Mirialan. So there are loads of Mirialians in Star Wars as Jedi. Now I feel like we don't really see this species have any other particularly big affiliations with anything else other than the Jedi, but I feel like it's a species we absolutely have to have in this game. Number 8 is an IG magnaguard. Now these droids are just really cool. I've always been a big fan of their design, especially in Jedi Survivor last year with the Bedlam Raiders. Those designs were absolutely awesome, and just having their staff in the game I just think would be really cool with the sights and sounds with that, and obviously they were quite skilled with it, so I feel like we can't not have the magnaguard in the game. In at number 9 would be a Gungan warrior. Now Gungans are obviously iconic thanks to Jar Jar, and like the B1 battle droids, I think the voice lines for the Gungans would just be so funny to have in this game. But the weapons that the Gungans use themselves as well, with the boomers and their staffs and shields and everything, I just think they're really cool, and seeing them in this game would be a lot of fun to have. And at that point you could also have skins for this Gungan inspired by Jar Jar as well, which I just think would be amazing. But finally, for today's video, I would like to see a red Nikto pirate. Now red Niktos are pretty much always pirates within Star Wars, no matter what format it's in. So having an ex-pirate now a hunter in the arena I think would be really interesting to see, especially with the story, and it's a very notable species as well. So I'd definitely be keen to see that. And likewise with the red Nikto, there is also the green Nikto as well, which are pretty much always pirates as well. So maybe there's an interesting idea where you could almost have a hunter which is two characters that you can just swap in and out of combat and stuff. But I'll potentially save that for a hunter concept video at some point. But they are the 10 hunters that I would really love to see come to Star Wars Hunters. Like I said, there are tons and tons of species and droids within the universe that could easily make its way into this game. So I'm going to be making a lot more videos like this in the future, so do keep your eyes peeled for that. But the next video I do like this will be 10 maps that I really want to see, and that will be out in a few weeks time. That is it from me today though. Thank you all very much for watching, and may the force be with you always.